My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be L.M. Montgomery, Video 4, The Public Voice. So here is my novel, L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life, a novel by John Passfield. That's a photo of the historical L.M. Montgomery in about 1938, which is the setting, the time setting, I guess you'd call it, of the novel. Here's the summary on the back cover. In 1938, with another world war looming and her own personal problems threatening to overwhelm her, acclaimed Canadian author L.M. Montgomery begins to write what she has decided will be her final Anne novel. As she works on the new book, she recalls the days when Anne of Green Gables became a worldwide literary phenomenon and the dilemma that she faced at that time. Whether to write a series of novels in which Anne would perpetually remain the child the world had come to know and love, or to allow Anne to grow to adulthood with all the agonizing torments of the one who had given her life, L.M. Montgomery. Now, we're dealing with 3 novels here, so I've just held this up. This is my novel, L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life, in which L.M. Montgomery excuse me, is a character, okay? Now, she's recalling the days when she wrote this novel, Anne of Green Gables. And she's recalling that novel while she's beginning to write this novel, Anne of Ingleside, in 1938. So writing one novel, Anne of Ingleside, thinking of an earlier novel, Anne of Green Gables. That's the premise of my novel. Now, the premise of this novel, as with all my novels and novellas, is that every word of the novel is a thought inside the mind of the main character. And in this novel, of course, the main character is L.M. Montgomery. Now, there are 16 chapters of thought in the novel. In the 15th chapter of thought, L.M. Montgomery takes stock of her life. Now, L.M. Montgomery is a celebrity, a world-famous author, so it's quite possible that she is either taking part in or remembering an actual interview. But it's also possible, of course, that she's imagining an interview. So let's look at the public voice of the world-famous author. Let's go to chapter 15, page 117. The public voice. These are the things she says in public. Okay, here we are. So, there are 8 segments in which she thinks in her public voice. Number 1. Oh, that's a very good question. Now, let me see. What is my life at this moment in time? Well, I'm currently working on a new novel. It's set in my old haunts in PEI. Yes, Anne is what you would call the protagonist. She is what is called my bread and butter in the trade. Oh, I think there's a time limit on everything. Don't you agree? Whether on butter or on bread or on milk. There's a time when they become dangerous to eat or to drink. Okay, that's her first thought. Her second public thought is this. Excuse my voice here. What is the state of my life at this time? I was a minister's wife, of course. I was such for many, many years. At Leaksdale, and at Zephyr, and then at Norval as well. We're retired now, my husband and I. We no longer have the burden of a charge. Of course, we shall always have our pleasant memories. And we do go back and visit from time to time. Okay, and now the third public utterance, public thought. It's all in her mind. As to my health, I simply take it day to day. I'm not as young as I was, nor as anyone else. Perhaps it's the curse of the writer. You simply get used to sleepless nights. And I'm still capable of working for very long hours. I write, and I garden. I try to balance out my day. Sometimes I just sit in the window with a cup of tea. Yes, I let my mind drift back to PEI. Okay, that was number 3. Here's the 4th public thought. Oh, I have readers all over the world. Readers in Denmark and Japan. I've been translated into Dutch and German and French. I get letters almost every day in the mail. Anne is a little girl to these people, as alive as are you and me. They ride along with her in the buggy, look through her eyes at the white way of delight. They all hope to be adopted. Yes, they all feel like orphans in some strange way. Then the 5th public thought. Yes, I attend the meetings of the Authors Association. It makes for a pleasant evening of literary chat. Of course, we don't all write the same kinds of novels. Some are very different from the kind that pay my bills. But how can writers be compared? I never talk of readers or sales. I never mention I have readers around the world, that I get letters from people who say I have changed their lives. Readers who say I transport them to PEI. Okay, then on to number 6, public thought. Oh, the park in PEI. Yes, of course. It's called the Green Gables Park, on land that the government set aside. Of course, there was never an actual house, not an actual Green Gables house. I put several houses together in the book. People forget that Anne is fiction, though all the places are real. You can drink from the Dryad's bubble, just like Anne. No, I don't go back too often. I'm in the Toronto orbit now. They don't make me pay for a ticket when I do. And then 7, in terms of her public thought. Of course, you can ask about my family. My husband is now retired. We were partners for many, many years. Both of us hitched up to the church as to a plow. Oh, no, my writing is strictly my own. I have no partner there. He has the respect of his former parishioners. He preaches on special occasions now. Yes, his health is of some concern, but is under control. A quiet life is what's best for my husband now. Yes, my oldest son is named Chester. At present, Chester is studying law. He has a wife and children. No, he has no plans to write, though he has done some acting and amateur presentations at church. In that, he resembles me in his interest in the arts. There are traits in which he resembles my husband as well. Stuart is the youngest and second son. He has no attachments as yet. He's too young to think of marriage. He's attending university. Medicine seems to be his forte. Stuart is quite devoted to athletics. He's very successful at what he does. One more young person starting out on the road of life. Okay, that was 7. Now we go to the very last public thought in chapter 15. Excuse me again. Well, excuse me again. Well, I live a life of routine. I work quite hard at what I do. I'm hoping to finish Anne of Ingleside soon. When I complete it, I'll take a break. A library, movies, reading books, ones I haven't written, that is. Tending the garden in the summer. In the winter, hot toddy and a warm, cozy fire. I'm starting to realize that I'm getting a little older. Yes, I'm starting to feel my age. I don't travel as much as I used to. I have no plans to go back to the island anytime soon. Well, that's chapter 15, her public voice, the things she says in public. I mentioned in the introductory note that the main character of this novel, L.M. Montgomery, is a world-famous author. So it's quite logical to assume that the interview from which I've just read is an actual interview. At the same time, she's at a stage in her life which she sees as quite significant. The stage at which she is writing the last novel in which the character Anne of Green Gables will appear. This means that it's quite possible, on the other hand, that she, the main character, Ellen Montgomery, is imagining a typical interview in which to summarize her entire life. Now, I'm not interested in writing about unique people who are not like the rest of us who dwell here on the earth. I'm interested in writing about the way all human minds work. So if anyone should say that I, John Passfield, author, have created an image presentation technique for the poetic novel that would only be found in the minds of the famous authors of the world, I would disagree. It strikes me that all humans tend to summarize our lives at various times, certainly at the most important stages, at the most important times of change in our lives. And since I have the challenge of presenting on ink and paper what happens in the folds of the gray matter of our minds, that vast territory which many people feel is still waiting to be explored in large measure, then I feel that such a technique is quite valid to add to the repertoire of future novel writers. The interview technique, the self-interview technique, is merely a way of presenting the process by which we human beings, summarize and evaluate our lives from time to time. In this, the main character of this novel, Ellen Montgomery, is being as human as you or I. Now, once again, this is my novel, Ellen Montgomery, I Gave You Life, a novel by John Passfield. It's found on Amazon. There's information there. It's found on my publisher's website, rocksmillspress.com, rocksmillspress.com. There's more information there. And on my website, there are 2 free books that I have written. The Planning Notebook, a full book, in which I plan and write the novel. You can click on the icon and get the book for free to read. And the Reflective Journal, in which I reflect on not only the novel I've just written, but in novels in general, and literature in general, and life in general, as I'm polishing the novel for 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks. So have a look at those books if you're interested. Lastly, I'll just say thank you for watching this video.